Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and you're watching Step Ladder, and I hope that you all are doing fine and good. And in this session we are going to learn and discuss about the Fire and Ice poem. That is your poem 2 from your first flight English textbook of NCERT class 10 CBSE. And the poet of this poem Fire and Ice is Robert Frost. So let's start our session without much delay. Welcome to today's session, and in this session we are going to discuss about the poem's explanation, about the poet of the poem and the summary theme, as well as the moral of this poem. And I'll also be teaching you about the literary or poetic devices that are used in this poem. So guys, let's start our today's session. So first, let us start the session by knowing about the poet. The poet of this poem, Fire and Ice, is Robert Frost. Robert Lee Frost was an American poet. His work was initially published in England before it was published in the United States. Robert Frost was born on 26 March 1874, San Francisco, California, in United States, and he died on 29 January 1963 in Boston, Massachusetts, United States. And some of his famous poems are The Road Not Taken, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, Fire and Ice, and more. Awards: American Academy of Arts and Letters Gold Medal for Poetry, Pulitzer Prize for Poetry, and more. So let's start the poem. The poem Fire and Ice, as I said, it is written by Robert Lee Frost, who's the poet of this poem. And in this poem, the poet Robert Frost, he mentions about two sets of emotions or inner feelings by using the two destructive elements, that is your fire and ice. So as you can see here, these are the two destructive elements. So one is your fire and the another one is your ice. So we know that fire and ice here, it represents about the inner feelings and about the sets of emotions of humans. So here he says that fire and ice are the two destructive elements that would be the cause of the world's end. So he mentions that he talks about how the world would end or how the world would meet its end. So this is what he is actually representing in his poem Fire and Ice. So let's start the poem. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. So the poet Robert Frost, he mentions in this poem about the two sets of emotions, as I said before, about fire and ice. And this poem is of two stanzas, and each stanza is divided into 9 lines. So the poem is of totally 2 stanzas, that is of 9 lines, and the first stanza consists of 4 lines and the second stanza consists of 5 lines. So it means that it is of unequal length. So from the 4 lines, what does the poet actually mention is about that he says that some people believe that the world will end in fire. It means that some people or some those who believe that the world will end in fire. So here fire represents about fiery passions. So the fiery passions includes desire, violence, fury, etc. And here in this line, fire means the earth would meet its end due to intense heat. So intense heat leads to your global warming, right? So due to global warming or due to high level of heat produced, the world would meet its end or the earth will be destroyed due to fire. And in the second line, the poet says that some say in ice. It means that he says that some people, they believe that the world would end in ice. So here ice, it represents about cold feelings, which is opposite to your fire. So cold feelings, which includes your hatred, jealousy, insensitivity, and etc. So some people believe that the world would end in ice. It means that the earth would become frozen and it would end. It means that the earth would be destroyed due to ice. So this is the meaning of your second line. And the third line. So the poet, he believes that his favor for those people who believe that the world would end in fire. So he favors those people who believe that the world would end or the world would meet its end in fire. It means that the earth would be destroyed due to fire. So at the starting, the poet is favored to fire, and let us see what happens in the next stanza. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice. So in the second stanza, which consists of 5 lines, the poet says, but if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate. So here he mentions that even ice, which is cold feelings, even this is a great competent of fire. Even this is as stronger or powerful as fire. It means that even this has equal amount of power to destroy the earth. Okay, so in this stanza he believes that even ice can be it can be the reason for the end of the earth, for the destruction of the earth. So he says that even ice is as strong as a destructive element as your fire, and even it can be the reason for your earth's destruction too. Is also great and would suffice. He says that even ice is enough to end the earth, to destroy the earth. So here perish, it means to die, and suffice means enough or sufficient. I guess this is clear for all of you. I guess the poem's explanation was very clear, and I hope so. So let me move on with the next slide. So let us see some questions related to this poem so that we can check our knowledge regarding this poem. So I have 3 questions for you guys, so you can just try it out, these questions. So these questions are very simple, so please try it out. So let us see some word meanings from this poem, fire and ice. So you have only 2 word meanings here, that is for perish and the another one is for suffice. So as I said, perish means die in this poem and suffice means enough in this poem. Okay, it also means sufficient, and perish also means go off. So I guess this is also clear. So let me move on with the next slide. So in this slide we are going to learn and we are going to just see the summary of this poem, fire and ice. So as I said before, that fire and ice are 2 destructive elements that can be the reason behind the earth's end, according to the poet Robert Frost. So let me just read the summary. Fire and Ice is a short poem by Robert Frost. So this poem, Fire and Ice, it is short and crisp, but it contains very beautiful meanings. So as I said before itself, that fire and ice are used literally as well as symbolically to represent the destruction of the earth, like how the earth would meet its end. So let me just read. In this poem, the poet refers to two predictions of how the world will end. Some say it will end in fire, whereas others say it will end in ice. According to the poet, fire stands for desire, greed, avarice, or lust. The more you try to satisfy them, the more they grow. There is no end to it. They spread rapidly like fire and engulf your whole life. One becomes selfish and sometimes cruel also. On the other hand, ice, according to the poet, stands for hatred, coldness, and rigidity. One becomes insensitive and indifferent towards the feelings of others. The poet says that both fire and ice are growing with such a rapid speed that the world would soon perish either way, in fire or in ice. So this is the summary of this poem, Fire and Ice. So you can just have a look at this summary. If you want, even you can just take a screenshot. So this summary is what actually I explained in the before slides. So the summary is very small, it is very short and crisp. So you can just note it down the summary if you want in your notebook. I guess this is also clear. I hope so you understood the summary also. So let me move on with the next slide. So now let us see some of the poetic devices that is used in this poem. So as I said, this poem consists of 2 stanzas, which is of 9 lines, and the first stanza consists of 4 lines and the second stanza consists of 5 lines. And the rhyme scheme of this poem is A B A B A B A. So you can see the rhyme scheme here. So the rhyming scheme or the rhyme scheme of this poem is A B B C B C B. So this is the rhyme scheme of this poem. And the first stanza, so the rhyme scheme for the first stanza is A B A. So this is the rhyme scheme for the first stanza, as you can see. And the second poetic device that is used here is assonance. So assonance, it is the repetition of vowel sounds in the same letter. So what does assonance means? It is the repetition of vowel sounds in the same line. Remember, same line, not letter. That's very important. For example, the repetition is different, is at different places in different words. For example, the long sound of O and I hold with those who favor fire. So here you can see assonance, right? And the third one is your alliteration. So alliteration, it is the repetition of a consonant sound at the starting of 2 or more closely or adjacent words. Okay, so that is as alliteration. And the example of alliteration here is sound of F is repeated in favor of fire, as you can see here. F is repeated. And sound of W, world will. So this is an example of alliteration from this poem. The fourth literary or poetic device here is imagery. So imagery, it is used to make readers perceive things involving their 5 senses. Example, some say the world will end in fire. To say that for destruction ice is also great. So here the poet actually, he represents something, he actually symbolizes something, and hence it talks about the destruction, right? So hence this is your imagery, example of your imagery, this and this one. The fifth poetic device here is anaphora. So anaphora, it is the repetition of a word or expression at the starting of 2 or more consecutive lines. Consecutive in the sense it's going on, right? The next lines. Here the example of your anaphora is some say. So some say, as you can see, in the starting of the poem, some say the world would end in fire, and secondly, the poet mentions in the second line, some say in ice. So here, some say it is repeated, right? So hence, this is your anaphora. Some say it is the example in this poem. The sixth poetic device here is personification. So as we know that personification, it is the human qualities that we give to non-living things. So in this poem, fire and ice are two destructive elements, but the poet personifies fire and ice by giving them mind and power to destroy anything. So hence fire and ice is personified here, and hence these are the examples of your personification from this poem Fire and Ice. The seventh poetic device here is enjambment. So enjambment, it is defined as the thought or clause that does not come to an end at a line break, rather it moves over to the next line. So enjambment means it is a clause or thought that goes on without any end. It does not contain any punctuation marks. For example, it is carried on to the next line. For example, you can see, from what I have tasted of the side, I hold with those who favor fire. So there is no punctuation marks here, right? So hence this is an example of enjambment from the poem Fire and Ice. So I guess you all understood the poetic devices of this poem Fire and Ice. So let me move on with the next slide. So this is the last topic that we are going to discuss today. So that is the theme of the poem and about the moral or message of the poem. So the theme of this poem Fire and Ice is about, it is the age-old question. The question is whether the world will end in fire or in ice. So the theme, it actually denotes like what will be the cause for the earth's end, or what would destroy the earth. So it is related to that. So here the poet mentions about fire and ice. So that is the theme of this poem, Fire and Ice. And let us see the moral or the message what the poem actually gives to its readers. Robert Frost's Fire and Ice is about destruction, the central theme of the poem. The second part of the poem indicates destruction by ice, which is caused by a complete absence of love or all-consuming hatred for someone or something. So as I said, the moral of this poem is that it basically talks about the destruction of the earth. So the poet gives the moral that about the absence of love or about the absence of hatred. So that is actually the moral of this poem. So he basically actually explains about the two destructive elements, fire and ice, about the inner feelings of human beings, and hence like how they can cause destruction to the earth. And that is the moral of this poem Fire and Ice. I guess you all understood very well, and I hope so. This concept was very clear. I guess this poem is very well, you all understood very well, and I guess this video was informative to you all and it was helpful. So that's it for today, guys. So please like the video, please share with your friends, and please comment in the comment section if you have any doubts regarding this video. I'll check all your doubts and I'll try to revert them all back. Please subscribe my channel for more videos and notifications, and if you want to suggest or if you have any opinion regarding this video, please post it in the comment section. I'll try to check all your comments and revert them back. Please do not forget to hit the bell icon for more videos and notifications. Okay guys, bye bye, meet you all in my next video. Until then, bye bye, stay tuned. Please subscribe my channel. Bye bye.